All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 1900 hours. Adjust agenda. Any adjustments?
Yeah, we need to add item L, historical insurance investigation contract.
And commissioners, that will be after the executive session, so we'll come back out with that item. All right, so we'll adopt the agenda as presented. Approve meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Any questions, concerns?
I'll move we approve the May 8th, 2023 minutes as presented in the packet.
All in favor of that motion? Aye. All right, public comments, open public comments related to the agenda, district staff and work groups. No? All right. Moving on to the awards, recognitions, and promotions.
All right, we have tonight we're going to get to present our first round of tested engineers. We started promoting engineers at the beginning of last year, but this is our first batch of 7 that went through a promotional process to gain that rank. So I am going to call up all of our recent promoted engineers: Jake Dehan, Jose Islas, Tanner Abersold, Casey Bazzelli, Nate McCon, Ryan Green, and Anthony Parra. And just if you would come stand. Man, this is a big group. So our engineers, they don't know this yet, but their promotion is conditional. It's going to depend on how your oath of office goes. If you guys can do it in unison with a good cadence. So they're going to read an oath of office. After their oath of office, one at a time, we'll start with Jake. We'll come up, shake hands with Chief. Jake, in the end, you guys can have your significant others, or the Chief come up and do a badge pinning, a quick photo, and then we're going to move on to the lieutenants. So, I know you guys have been practicing your oath of office. Jake, you're going to lead this out. Share. Jake's going to lead their oath of office. So you just start and you guys follow along, please.
I do solemnly swear to uphold the ideals, expectations, values, policies, and image of Fire District 4. As a firefighter of Fire District 4, my duty is to serve the people I serve to protect, to safeguard and preserve life, health, and property against fire and other perils, and maintain proficiency in fire service skills. I will never allow my personal feelings or danger to self deter me from my responsibilities. I will complete my duties to the best of my abilities with fairness and without prejudice. I will at all times respect the property and rights of all. I will constantly strive to achieve the objectives and ideals that the fire service instills. I accept this badge of my office as a symbol of public faith and trust, and wear it as a reminder of my dedication to the ethics of the fire service.
Pretty good.
Very good. Congratulations. This is what it's for. All right.
Come on up.
You're welcome.
Yep. You can give a hug, whatever, stand behind him, then we'll do a. Okay, let's do this. Okay, shake his hand.
Yeah.
You had it in your pocket.
No,
Yeah.
I gave it to my other
That's
pocket.
Well, we can adapt and overcome.
That's right.
Really hard.
Really hard.
It doesn't look hard.
Yeah.
He's fine.
If I'm not
Just leave it
bleeding.
like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you did good. Okay.
Put it-
You
Oh,
can get
you
in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, good.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
These photos will be available for purchase.
Just a gift shop, you have to go out on the way out. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Made that look easy.
I know.
All right, our next group we want to recognize tonight is our newly promoted lieutenants. And want to recognize Gabe Harrington, who is out on a state mob, so he's not in attendance tonight. And I'd like to call up Carl Jacobson, Kenton Lucky, and Doug Higby to be recognized. Yeah, I didn't think the engineers would do that well. You guys got a tough act to follow.
You want it in double time though.
You don't mess up on responsibility. All right.
I just always better than ideals.
Just like that, only better.
All right.
I, Doug Higby,
Do solemnly swear to uphold the ideals, expectations, values, policies, and image of Fire District 4. As an officer of Fire District 4, my duty is to serve the people I swear to protect, to safeguard and preserve life, health, and property against fire and other brothers, to maintain proficiency in fire service skills. I will never allow my personal feelings or danger to self deter me from my responsibilities. I will lead my fire company to the best of my ability, with fairness and without prejudice. I will at all times respect the property and rights of all. I will consistently strive to achieve the objectives and ideals at the fire service instills. I accept this badge of my office as a symbol of public faith and trust, and wear it as a reminder of my dedication to the ethics of the fire service.
Every one of these, we think should make it shorter than we ever.
see. Oh, yeah. I think so.
Congratulations. All coming to me.
Nice try.
Okay, I get it. Just got a lot to handle.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all. This is always an important time for any organization as we move through moving people up the family. So we appreciate everybody being here. You're more than welcome to stay for our regular meeting, but we usually take about a 5-minute break. If families want to go and take pictures and maybe not stay for the whole meeting, that's completely up to you. So we'll give you about 5 minutes to talk with your family members and decide what you're going to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 5 runs per inning.
Oh, there's
Talk to not the strike team leader, talk to some of the bosses today, just for a couple of minutes. Short time now, and then a lot there, and get healthy as well. Yeah.
Hey, Greg. One's at varsity now.
They're probably all outside. Oh, yeah, he came himself. Grandpa wouldn't get up to his phone. So I had to be driving. So well, I'm Grandpa, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I tried anything there for a while, but now it's like, I'm sort of 10 years down the road. It's super tempting, we're like, I don't have to eat it. So
Hey, Greg, I'll let you work it out. Carl has an old set, and I don't do set. Okay. Doesn't didn't have an old set, only a new set. I didn't know who to give these to. Okay. There was no pattern.
No pattern, no rhyme. All right.
So I gave up.
This says old business.
Whenever you're ready, I guess. Seems to settle down.
All right, we will continue the meeting. We're on to old business. There's no items there. Informational items, accounts payable, payroll. I did request that Thad kind of give us a rundown of CD and E, the treasurer's report, cash reserves report, and the budget to actual report, because they're all new. There's a new items that we haven't seen in the agenda yet. So
This is all part of Springbrook and the reporting that we're getting out of that program. That'll be pretty nice. You have an expense and a revenue summary, which is your E, that's 1 and 2. Got those things pulled up. The budget to actual, that's another Springbrook report. You're getting the accounts payable, that's like you've always gotten, but it's just coming out of Springbrook. And then payroll. You have both a summary and a detailed report there. Do you guys have any specific questions about those? It's a lot more information, a lot more detail than you're used to getting, and presented in a lot better way.
So
I agree.
like a treasurer's report is like a reconciliation of a checkbook, if you want to think of it that way. So it's showing you what we've reconciled and how we've gone. So that's one look at it. The budget to actuals is just, what we budgeted, what we spent, how much is left, or have we gone over. Same with revenue. So revenue you never really got before, so now you can see how the taxes kind of come in. And as we give them to you every month, you'll see that we basically just get 2 chunks of revenue. We don't get much, then we get a bunch in April, and we don't get much, and then a bunch in October. And then cash reserves is only once a year. So that's the other one. So that's only in the June timeframe. And it just kind of says, are we holding enough cash to not go broke sometime in the year, since we only get two revenue chunks.
The only other thing I want to mention is with the movement of meetings from time to time, the way these reports will fall is going to differ a little bit, but we'll try to get you an up-to-date meeting or a report anyways for each meeting.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, commissioners?
I was noticing that on page 42 there, where it talks about some of the revenue, there's a lot of brackets around things. And so is that when it talks about remaining, does that mean we've gone over?
So if it's on the revenue side and there's brackets, means we've taken more money and then we budgeted.
Okay.
Because it's a negative revenue.
Negative revenue. Okay, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so it's just looking at that. So it's backwards when you look at the revenue side in accounting. So if it's bracketed, it means you're more, just like if it was an expense, yes.
Yeah,
You would have expended over, but since it's revenue, you revenued over.
So you got more in.
Correct.
Okay. So where are later on, we're gonna have talk about transport waivers and things like that. Where do they show up in all this stuff? Because there's money that's not coming in, but we're saying we're forgiving that, as it were. So you would think that would have to show up somewhere.
It does in systems design billing, but it doesn't, you'll never see it. It's just money that we don't collect that we would have ordinarily either collected or actually written off. A lot of these hardships that we don't, if we don't grant it, there's a good possibility we just won't see anything anyways.
So
those would be way down in the weeds if you have to be really far down.
Yeah.
It's never in our accounting because we never get the money. And so we just make a guesstimate of what we think we're going to collect in revenue for next year. And we have enough history that that's all figured in of how much we give. And so we don't actually track it. Now system design does. So if we wanted to know how much we collect from, the percent of build, if we want, because they do all the collection, we just get the money from it. If we want to know how much we forgive, how much goes to collection, that would all be a report from systems design.
Is that something that the auditor looks at, those kind of things?
Not the detail you're asking about.
Okay.
I don't even think that they look at any detail at all. I've only been through one, so I don't know. And it does change from year to year, but those types of details they typically don't look at very much.
Okay. All right.
Alrighty.
Then I also noticed that on like 44, on page 44, there's a lot of zeros there. And it says 100%. So we expected nothing and we got nothing, so that's 100%.
Right.
Is that how you read that?
Right. Because we don't, and I don't know why.
I mean, I'm just looking at the one I got.
Yeah, I'm not sure why again, we're working on Springbrook. I'm not sure why there's no revenue budgeted for general fund. But there is no revenue budgeted for the other ones because we transfer in, so it's not revenue, it's a transfer. We're still, like I said, we're still trying to dial those reports in. What report is that?
Yeah.
Do you see it?
It says budget year-to-date expense.
Oh, that's why. I think the reason they're all zeros is because we only ask it to give us the expenses. So it wouldn't put any revenues in. That's the expense report, so you're only gonna see expenses.
Okay. Then why have that there? Then why have, but that's
Springbrook
just the
has
way
it.
it.
Yeah,
that's just
if
the
there's
way
a
it's
box
set
you
up.
check and you uncheck revenue, it doesn't take off the revenue, it just doesn't put the data in.
Okay. I was just, we're looking at it new, so I'm just
We
looking
get some
at all
press.
these things and wondering what's what, so. Next month when there's nothing there, that'll be good.
You'll be fine.
If there's something shows up where we have to ask more questions, right?
Sure. Well, you can, of course.
Okay. All right. Before that, though, I had a question. When we were going through accounts payable, the ones that we did, I know we had with, what's the water district up there by?
3 Lakes.
3 Lakes. We had some issues with the water. I noticed that the news reports for the Monday fire says that we were hauling in water. So I'm assuming we were hauling it in from Snohomish.
Yep.
So is there an issue with being billed with that or not?
We just had to report it to them, that we reported to the city that we tied into one of their hydrants and used water, and that's fine as long as they can record it, then
Okay.
they're happy, but no bill associated with it.
All right, okay. That was my question, just to see how to operate differently or whatever, so.
And 3 Lakes doesn't bill us for the hydrant use. They only bill us for the station 42 use.
Okay, but I thought we had some issues there for a
With
while.
training.
Yeah,
Oh,
how we're using it. And we've got that all resolved. They're good. So it was never a billing, it was just how we were using their water.
Okay. That's all I have there. Thank you.
Alrighty, moving on to new business, audio and IT security presentation.
Yeah, we have them on Teams. And I will unmute and turn the volume up, and Bill is talking to him. I can tell him we're ready.
All right, Bill and Brandon, we are ready.
Hey, good evening. How's everyone doing? You hear us okay?
Yep.
All right, great. That was an odd experience. I've never quite felt like a fly on the wall before. But congrats to all the new lieutenants and everything. It's great. All right, let us know if you want us to kind of dive in. We can do that, or if you've got some questions to start out, that works too.
I think we were just planning on you diving in and then questions after. Is that okay?
All right, yep, you got it. All right, let me share my screen quickly here. Let me know if you guys can see this. See that all right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. So we'll just quickly go through. Thank you for having us on here. It's been several years now that we've been supporting the station there, the stations, and we appreciate it. It's been a great relationship so far. Very much on our side, enjoyed it. And just a little kind of history of us, of who we are, for those of you that might not know us. We were founded in 2013, kind of a mission to reinvent the old grumpy IT guy industry. We're based out of Kirkland, Washington, and we've got people now working in Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth, California, Oregon, and up to Bellingham. So kind of a wide swath of the Pacific Northwest, and doing IT, networking, telecommunications, a little bit of everything. Some of the core things we're looking for, simplicity, speed, services are kind of our 3 things that we're focused on. I'll skip over the staff highlights, but suffice to say, we've got people that do things, and these are some of them, including myself here. But lots of IT experience. Jeremy, our IT director, ton of time spent at Microsoft, and Janae and myself met at a previous job, and that's when we started this one. So lots of verticals. I'll skip past that. Let's get to the stuff that we want to talk about for you guys. So currently what we're doing for you is we're supporting station 41, 42, and 43, along with the training facility, approximately 34 workstations, 6 servers. We've got servers at 2 different locations for redundancy, and then we're supporting the firewalls and the routers at each location. So all that's to say that the way we look at ourselves is we are the technical team behind everything that's making sure that that you guys can operate. So we're also doing the phones for all the stations in addition, so making sure that the phones are online, working, when people call, they can get through. Along with that, our service plans, how that works is we charge a monthly fee per device that we support, and for that you're getting a remote agent that we can use to log in, and we can make sure that we can get onto everybody's computer as quickly as possible to help fix things. We're automatically updating Windows software, third-party support applications, weekly and monthly, Java, Adobe, Outlook, Word, all of those things, basically just trying to keep that process out of the way so that your staff is not having to worry about that. Antivirus protection, we've got a lot of different security, from when we started with you guys to now, the security landscape has shifted tremendously. As a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but that's one of the reasons that we've switched to our kind of 2.0 plan, just to better cover our clients for these security things. So we've got 24/7 support. Our normal business hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. We've got on-call after hours should anything happen, and then we've got a number of different monitoring systems and set up for the worst case that should happen if something were to happen, or if a network intrusion were to happen, servers were to go offline, we get notified of that after hours and are able to respond. Telephone, chat support, any way that you can reach out to us, we try to make sure that we're available. On-site support, of course, is available. It says for a dispatch fee. We actually don't charge a dispatch fee to get out there and support. We try to be on site as needed. We give our technicians a lot of discretion in order to do that and help. So email support of Office 365, which is the email platform, technology platform that you guys use. Backups and backup monitoring, and then managing the routers and the devices and the firewalls that you guys are using there as well. So we can go through this if you'd like. This is basically the kind of monthly pricing that we've got configured currently with the station, and we'll send a copy of this presentation out afterwards if you'd like to look through that as well. I went ahead and highlighted, some of the newer things that we're working on here, assuming that might be of more interest. But we've got a VeloCloud that we're working on testing and rolling out right now to the stations. And the purpose of that is to replace the older routers and firewalls that you have at the stations with something that's new. So the older routers and firewalls are more manual. They're also getting a bit dated. So those are things that you don't want to just wake up one morning and have not work, because your entire operation will be down. So it does make sense to replace those after so many years. But the more important thing is that these VeloClouds will essentially aggregate all of your different connections. So with how much work we do online, it's very important that we have multiple kind of redundancies within there. So with VeloCloud, we're plugging in T-Mobile internet connection, the county fiber, the Comcast line, and then all 3 of those can work seamlessly. You can literally sit behind and you can just unplug one, plug it back in, unplug another one, plug it back in, continue with a phone call or surfing the web or doing whatever you're doing at the same time while that's happening. So it's a big kind of initiative that we've got with the fire station right now with you guys. Managed backup disaster recovery, we swapped that out. That is now included in the new plan. And anti-phishing. So one of the biggest, probably the biggest thing that we're seeing across all of our clients is phishing emails. So that's your standard, hey, can you click on this DocuSign link to sign whatever? You click on the link, it looks like an Office 365 login, and you type in all your information, and then you've just given your username and password away to the threat actors. So adding that in is now part included in what we got going on with you guys, as well as Total, which is a VPN solution that we're using with the test piloting with the Chiefs right now. That allows them to basically work from anywhere, go over an encrypted connection, but making sure that everything back at the station is safe and just works. We've got a little bit of an overview on the voice. We've had that voice for a long time. Happy to go into it, but suffice to say, all of the voice seats that all of the staff use, common area seats, the phone numbers are all supported by us. So the idea is you've got just one phone call to us to help with anything that you may need. I feel like I've been talking a really long time here, so any questions or anything that I can answer?
Do we have two phone services? Do we have, who's out at?
Well, yeah, all the stations, the phones are through them all via internet.
Even if they're not
Yeah.
Comcast?
Yeah.
Because he just mentioned Comcast.
Yes,
Well,
that's
he's
the
saying
internet
three
provider.
providers that they all work together. Basically.
Okay.
No questions.
I have a question.
Okay,
Yeah, I have a
questions.
question. Do you have any other, what other fire districts do you have for clients?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think the Columbia Fire, Columbia Fire is a different thing. I don't know that we have any actual fire districts as clients, but I can get back to you on that.
Do you have at least other organizations that deal with PHI and like private health information and all that? Do you have any other healthcare organizations do that?
Yeah, we deal with a lot of dental organizations, pharmacies, HIPAA. Yep.
Good. And then I guess my last question, you were talking about phishing and those links, the kind of common emails. Do you have any like cybersecurity training that you can kind of push out to your different clients that, we could push out to our employees? I know it's not that exciting, but it is good for somebody to, to take a online training module that kind of says, hey, don't click on this kind of thing, do click on that kind of thing. So I was wondering if you had any educational component with it that you can push out through.
Yeah, great question. And favorite topic of ours. That is as boring as it is for, and as much as employees hate it, that is the best way to get people, looking at the security and making sure it's top of mind. So we do actually with the iron scales anti-phishing that we just are rolling out. We have the ability to send out training courses to where people will click and log in. The other thing that is really quite handy that we can do is we will send out kind of a fake phishing email for all the employees, and we can make those look all the same. We can make them all look different per employee, and then depending on what the employee does with that, we'll know what happened. So they could click, hey, report phishing. That's great. We'll give them a little, hey, good news, you did the right thing, congratulations, you're a rock star kind of thing. A lot of times we'll have people just forward those into our help desk, also great. At least they're, thinking about the security of the links that they're sending. And then lastly, if they do click on the link or they do, put their credentials in, it will bring them to a landing page that says, hey, this is a phishing test, and here's what you could have looked at. Here's a training on how to make sure that these things are noticed more in the future. So yes, the answer is yes.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for the information. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. So sorry. Thanks for Yeah. Cybersecurity training, it's, boy.
They're always pretty funny when we first send them out. We get a lot of very confused calls and emails. Great question.
I think that's it for questions.
Okay. Well, let's see if I've got anything else here. So again, I can send this out, or we will send this out after the meeting, but we'll send it out. But this just goes over kind of our old plan versus new plan, and essentially what we've done. The older plan had a lot of kind of add-ons, a la cartes, and it was just a lot easier. At some point for us, it doesn't make sense for our clients to have part of their security turned on, but they don't want to turn on other security. So we've just gone through and streamlined it, included everything in there, and really where that came from was, making the change to the new firewall, making the change to the total client for everything. It just made more sense to turn this on rather than having those devices all be separate. So there's a lot of things that you guys used to pay for separately that now are just included in the plan. In addition, you've got expanded hours and things, but we've kind of highlighted all of those items on the slide, so I'll go over them. And that's it.
I'll just recap into layman's terms, and Bill can add on, but we're kind of doing three different things, main things. One, upgrading the software security, like the iron scales and some of the other things. The iron scales is what now filters out what it thinks is spam or phishing, and then I can go in and see what they are, and if they're right, I can unquarantine them and let them have it. We're updating the hardware, like the firewalls, to be more in line with updated security, and then the Velo Cloud allows us to do that only here, where we are going to have 3 different internets all working so that we can have total redundancy and never go down, because our downtime has been not because of Audion or our system. Our downtime has been because the internet goes out, and so now having County Fiber, Comcast, and T-Mobile all on the Velo Cloud will help. It also makes us able to work remotely much easier than what we've been testing out. I don't even know, I'm not at my desktop. And the other old system we had to log on 2 different ways. It would connect, and then it would not like it, and it would dump us and reconnect down. So now it's just Semulus that's doing it without me seeing. Those are the 3 big changes, right? Anything else, Bill?
No hardware than the internet redundancy. Firewalls that we are replacing currently only support 1 internet connection, and that's a huge issue. So that now that we can have all 3 combined in, that we can do load balancing if we wanted to. But right now it's just failover, and literally last Friday, with staff in the office and everything else, plugged the Comcast, plugged it back in, and nobody knew that we lost internet because it immediately switched to the T-Mobile connection, and everything was seamless. Nobody knew.
And with our voice over internet phones, when you lose internet, we have no phone either, so we can't get to our service. Work screeches to a halt. The other thing is this allows us, we've been trying to get the digital read reports in so we can push out digital real-time information and then have not CAD, but pulse point up so the crews can have a real-time status update that they're just watching. And we need this hardware really to be able to broadcast that from a central location, which would be obviously the admin office, so we can put whatever information out we want and broadcast it to the other 2 stations securely.
Nope, I don't have any more questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll let Audion go then. Is that okay? Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you. See you guys.
All right, any more discussions around the audience security presentation? One more first.
No, if the updated cost estimates that we'll have to do in the next motion, the budget estimate is in here, but we'll need a motion first to accept their proposed changes.
Alrighty, I'll make a motion to adopt the recommended IT upgrades as presented. All in favor of that motion?
That's on page 51, right?
46.
Yeah, 46
Well,
through,
like,
yeah, the
the
actual
updates are-
estimate.
What we're gonna vote on is on page 51, is that right?
I'll have to look, make sure.
I think that's what they were showing up there. in
Well,
lots of colors.
Yeah, it's really, it depends on how you say it. It's really 47 through 50, and then they took 47 through 50 and put it into a little table, which is 51. But 47 through 50 is just another way of saying page 51.
All right, any discussion around the motion? All right, I'll repeat the motion. Motion to adopt the recommended IT upgrades as presented. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
All right, motion passed. All right, budget adjustments and reports.
Yeah, so with this one, we're going to just go over the cash reserve report again, and then those treasury reports are actually here. No, they're not. They're in the next one. So the cash reserves report talks about, let me go back to that real quick. Sorry, now I'm getting myself all confused. Cash reserve report is an update of how our cash reserves go throughout the year. So we look at 4 times that are important. Right before we get our spring tax revenue, right after, and then the same in the fall, right before and right after. And so we don't want to be too low, because if we're too low right before our next cash reserve, that's an indication that we might not make it through to the next one. And if we're too high afterwards, it's saying that maybe we have too much in our cash reserves and we're not using the money as effectively as we could. Our numbers are right in line with everything, so our numbers aren't too high or too low, really. When you look at it, the low numbers are the really important one. It's a little bit higher than we need, and so we ended up having, I think, $850,000 of budget reserve from last year, and so we're going to recommend putting about 660, I believe, is that right? Into keeping that in the cash reserves to bolster that a little bit. And then we'll use the rest to fund some of the budget adjustments as presented. One is obviously the IT. We need to increase the budget of the IT. Just getting down to my thing, so I make sure I say them all right. And then we had a slight oversight when we were changing all the line items last year in the maintenance, so we need to increase that by about $4,500. And then we're doing the cash reserves by $200,000. The 660 is what's going to F78 for the capital facilities project. So that would take care of all that budget reserve. We're doing some other budget adjustments without the cash reserve because we had some overages in other line items. We're not doing what we were expecting, so we can move some money from PPE into IMS and some other things. And so those are all listed there for you in the motion or in the add issue. And if we make all those, we feel we have enough money in the reserves to make the budget adjustments, slightly bolster the cash reserves by $200,000, and then move 660 into F78 for the capital facilities. Sorry about that. I had numbers going all over the place. A lot of numbers today.
I was reading it.
You were doing better than me. You should have just said, "I got this, Chief. Can I do it for you?"
I heard what you meant.
Okay, perfect. So I'm not sure I know what I meant right now.
Well, I would move that we accept the transfers as presented there on page 53. Those various transfers that are mentioned there.
All right. All in favor of that motion? Aye. All right, motion passed. Historical accounting consultant/project.
Yes, I'm going to do better at this one. I promise. So we had talked to you about it. We finally really discovered what the problem is. From the county reports, there's two numbers. We're only supposed to record one. Two were getting recorded. That's what caused a 40,000 discrepancy in our accounts. So we know exactly now, really, we finally figured out exactly what we're doing with the help of actually we're getting the estimates from the historical accountants. But we still don't know the best way to correct it that the auditors will agree with. So we still want to hire the historical accountant so they can come in, and we know the generals, but we don't know exactly when they happened and where they happened. And so she can help us come in and find out exactly where they got entered in the ledger wrong, how to fix it to get Springbrook right. At the same time, she's worked with a lot of small governments, especially fire districts in the state, so she can help us on how to use Springbrook right, how to get the best reports out of it, and also how to align our funds and some other things to be the most efficient. And Thad, you want to add anything to that?
I mean, I think you covered it pretty good. It's, unless there was a question, this has gone back for some time because the audit in 2021 uncovered basically a compounding problem that had occurred, from at least the year before. The auditors weren't overly concerned as far as like a theft or missing funds. It was just a misreported category or some funds. And then as we started looking into that more, like Chief said, I ended up figuring it out partly through some stuff I did, and then partly through some information I gave to one of these accountants to give us a bid for doing some work for us. And she pretty quickly did a few things and said, I think I may have found the bulk of your problem already. So, which is nice. But, and then, I don't know if we want to get into, we got two estimates, and the one that we would recommend is the accountant that did the work and put a lot of effort into it already.
All right, thank you. Do you have a motion?
Yeah.
I had a question before we go on. When I was reading through their proposal to you, I was wondering when you get down to paragraphs with 3, 4, and 5, if those are things that some of them will come back to the board for our approval on some of those.
Let's see. Oh, right.
I was asking, could you elaborate a little on what you mean by paragraphs 3, 4, and 5?
Are you talking about page 57?
No, yeah, 57, 3, 4, and 5 there, yeah. That's where I should have mentioned the page.
So for the services provided, is that what you're asking about for the specifically for the services that she would be providing?
Well, no, or in whatever she, for instance, in number 4 there, the last sentence, it's our responsibility to examine and then approve. And usually if something's approved, that would come back to the board, I would normally think.
What she's asking is like, she's gonna use all the things that have been finalized in the reports and the audits that has approved by us. And
already approved.
yeah, so she's saying that she's going to use things that we say are accurate and appropriate. If we give her something that's not right, it's not her fault.
Okay. Let's hope we don't do that.
Correct, yeah. And those 3, 4, and 5 are her disclaimers saying,
Okay.
all the information comes from you. If you don't give me right information, I'm not held responsible.
Any other questions? Or do you have a motion?
Yeah. I will make a motion to contract with Gal Consulting as proposed, not to exceed $20,000.
All right, all in favor of that motion? Aye. All right, motion passed. All right, engine 40 repair.
And so we have a bad head gasket, and it's old enough that they need to replace that and do some work on the top of the engine. It's about $12,000. I don't know what you thought, but my first blush was $12,000 for 96 is a little bit much. But we're at to where we don't have any other options because we're still probably 6 to 8 months from our engine. Plus, we were planning on using engine 42 for MOBs in the next few years. Probably get that 12,000 back on one MOB. So when you look at it that way, it's a fairly decent return on investment. So I would recommend getting it fixed. We went out and got 3 estimates, and Motorworks seemed like it was the best one. Any other questions, probably Gary and Greg could answer.
Is there any sort of guarantee that comes with the replacement of that head gasket? Like for 30 days or?
I would imagine, I don't know the answer for sure, I would imagine a minimum of 90 days. But we can certainly look into that and find that out very easily.
I would hope there would be some sort of something in there.
That's what I
you know,
think.
so otherwise, I don't think that would be the way to go. At least without some sort of guarantees if something happens, at least initially.
I think more than anything is that you really need backup engine anyways,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
there's really no other option besides getting it done. And there's no such thing as like a used fire engine lot that we can just go pick up on the used fire engine.
Yeah, no, you can find them out there, but you're gonna pay 40,000 for something that's just as likely to do this exact same thing after you buy it. So I'm kind of like, we know what we have here, we might as well.
All right. Any other questions? All right, I make a motion to use motor truck to repair engine 40 not to exceed $12,000. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
All right, motion passed. 2022 annual report adoption.
Yeah, we finally have our annual report. I am so sorry it's taken so long. There is still one piece of information that we're trying to get out of them, so it's been a little frustrating. But you have it. We hope that you would adopt it. If there's any questions about it, we can probably answer them. Once you adopt it, we'll put it on our website for the public to be able to view and look at.
I'll move that we adopt the 2022 annual report as presented.
All right, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
All right, motion passed. Copier purchase.
Yeah, it's kind of like everything, you know, we had quite a bit in the office leave since I got here, and everything was a lot of memory. Everything was done by memory, so we didn't realize that our lease for our copier was going to be done at the end of August until we got the notice that if we didn't tell them within 60 days that we would automatically renew our lease. So we did quick figuring out. We paid about $30,000 over the 5 years of the lease. We can buy a new machine for, as you can see, 10 to 15. So to us, it does not make sense for us to lease the machine. We paid a lot of money that we didn't need to pay. So we got 3 quotes. The people we are with now is the highest at 15,300 something. We have 2 others that we think are cheaper, but with that amount of money, we don't want to say yes to them until we look at them. So the office staff is going to go look at them next week, but we cannot wait until the July meeting for you to approve it, because then we couldn't get a copier here in time because they come and pick up the other one and we don't renew the lease. So we would like the board to authorize us up to the top amount, the top quote of Pacific Office Automation, 15.5, knowing that we're going to try to go with the lowest, that as long as it's functionable. Like I said, we're going to go look at the postage machine copier. We'll go with the cheapest as long as all the functions are there. There would have to be something very weird that when we use it, it's completely not user friendly or something.
How long have we leased the one that we have out in there?
5 years.
5 years. You said $30,000 in 5 years. Oh.
Rough. Yeah.
And that's a yearly lease. Year lease.
It was a 5-year lease.
Okay, so they want another 5-year lease.
It would renew 1 year at a time, 12 months. So if we did nothing, it would automatically renew on September 1st for a year.
Do you have the lifespan of a copier by chance?
He said 7 to 12.
Any discussion? I'm in favor. I think that you can see the savings that and we got into at the end of the day. So
Yeah, interestingly too, we could either buy our old postage machine for $2,300 or buy a new one for 17.
After we pay lease things.
Yeah, after we leased it for 5 years. So yeah,
it's like a used car lot.
yeah.
Okay.
So we'll just need a motion to authorize it up to the 15,750, just in case there's tax or unexpected somethings.
I'll make a motion to authorize the chief to spend up to $15,750 on a copier and postage machine with an additional yearly maintenance contract. All in favor of that motion? Aye. All right, motion passed. Technical rescue. Oh.
So this yearly maintenance, is that something that's renewable?
Yeah,
Or you have to have so many years to start with, or just one at a time?
it's just monthly.
It's not yearly.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah. It's
Okay.
it's monthly, but we would budget for a year. That's
Sure,
why I
okay.
put that in. So, and they lock when they give you the monthly rate, the rate is locked in for 12 months. That's why I said yearly. So it's a monthly payment, but it's a rate for 12 months.
Have we had any issues with the one we have? Like, have we had to do any maintenance on it, or has it been pretty reliable?
Pretty reliable, yeah. I don't think anything major. And part of the maintenance contract is they come and replace, or they don't come, but they
Okay.
yeah, and the toners are all included in that maintenance contract. So we just call them, they send us the toners, we don't have to buy it. So, and again, the maintenance contracts were from about 130 to 215. Again, with the one we're with now being the highest. So we'll probably go with even a lower maintenance contract with the new ones.
All right, perfect. Technical rescue equipment purchase.
Yeah, so we, as you all know, we did a week-long class, a 60-hour class recently, and I think we did a 4-hour online before that. So we've got 11 people trained up through the rope technician level, and so we would like to buy some basic equipment so that they can utilize their training now at that level. And so there's about 17,000, and there's the list in there of everything we're going to do. We are fairly confident that we have a wholesaler that will sell it to us at wholesale from CMC and be less than that. But we gave you the retail price, and then we'll work our magic to see how much we can knock off of that.
Okay.
Is there a certain place that this is going to be stored? These,
Yes.
or so they're not commingled with other stuff?
Yeah, our rescue gear currently is split up into the 3 front-out engines. So most of this equipment will be adding to that cache or replacing some. And then some of the equipment will be issued to the rope technicians as personal equipment that would just be assigned to them. So kind of a combination of personal equipment and stuff that would be on the front-out engines.
I'll move that we authorize up to $17,000 to purchase technical rescue equipment as presented in our packet.
All in favor of that motion? Aye. All right, motion passed. Transport waivers. We have 2 of them. Do you have an opportunity to look at the transport waivers? Did you? Any discussion around that?
Yeah, I have a question on this one.
Best reference on those will be that 23-1213 will number sequentially as we go throughout the year. Since we've taken all the personal information, identifying information out of them. I think it's referenced on the
Okay.
worksheet on the very back.
All right,
Yeah.
23-12.
Yes.
I guess I was just wondering, they had listed one income, and then on this sheet there was just a different number. And I'm sure I'm just reading it wrong, so it's just a teaching moment for me.
Yeah, I think if you look on, it's it's not titled, it starts with the patient's name, date of service, and transported to handwritten
Yeah, that's
worksheet.
the one, and it's at the bottom when they self-report their income.
Yeah, he's got family member 1 and then family member 2. And so each of them show an income.
On the one I'm looking, just family member 1, like self-reports an income, or I guess I know I'm just reading it wrong, or like
why don't you just-
having trouble reading
Why don't you just go ahead
it.
Yeah. These are not easy to understand.
Yeah,
We can pull all the information out from the so you can't.
yeah. So I just needed a little help understanding. So they self-report their income here, and then on the
Yeah, that's for 12. For 12 right?
got it.
So there's
Okay.
12 and then there's 13. This guy, yeah.
Got it. Yeah,
Sorry.
got it.
I should have just looked over.
Thanks.
So this one, yeah, the recommendation is the full amount, and this one is.
This one just got paper clipped with the wrong file.
Gotcha.
And I
That would be my mistake.
I
Sorry
couldn't
about
figure
that.
my
We
way out
get
of
them all
that.
included in the packets, and so everything should be together, nice and tidy in the packet, and you'll have it ahead of time to look at.
This is another one of those systems we're trying to.
As these come in,
Smooth out.
it's a, a process. They come in through the biller. Anytime there's missing information, we're trying to give you guys the best information we can. And then as per your request, we're giving you all the information now that we get. And so making sure that we give you good data to make a decision has been a little challenging.
Makes sense now.
All right, do you have a recommendation or a motion?
So this is what they fill out, right? And what they would ask.
That actual sheet, the very first sheet, I believe is filled out by our biller in talking to the person when it goes to collections.
All right.
Or before it goes to collections, and then some of the information that you see in the packet is provided by the individual themselves. There's an application that they fill out. They also provide their income substantiation, and then if there's been any kind of a waiver or charity been granted by the hospital or a receiving facility, they're asked to provide that as well.
And so then, based on all that information, you give us these two
Correct.
on what it would.
Yeah, so then we just
come
work
down
up based on the,
Guidelines that,
exactly, federal poverty guidelines
Yeah.
that are updated every year. So this is a 23 version of that.
I'll move that for 22-23-13 that we waiver that balance that's there. And on 23-12, I go with the balance that you have on the sheet.
The proposed waived amount?
Hmm?
You mean the proposed waived amount? Which is-
Just to go with the new balance
Okay.
here. But to waive this one.
Yep.
Okay, to waive the one and go with the other.
2023 dash, well, so
12.
both of them are recommended waiver amounts.
Yeah, and then the other one just waivers that.
Waiver the
The
remaining.
13.
Yeah, 113.
13, okay.
All right, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, an executive session pursuant to RCW 42-30.110, to consider the selection of a site or acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase, and the public's knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. Pine Avenue property, 20 minutes with no action expected.
We added something that was 20 minutes enough, you think, Kenan?
If we need to add, we can add.
Mind if the other chiefs-
Yeah, I'm good.
That great.
All right, we'll adjourn the executive session with no action taken at 21:10 and re-adjourn the general meeting. Moving on to appeals policy and resolution.
And so this, with the purchase of the property, as a government agency, like we talked about, we have to relocate. Part of that is having an appeals process. So our lawyer drafted the resolution and the policy to go with it.
Any questions, concerns about the appeal policy or resolution, commissioners?
Well, are we sort of okaying it after the, if there is an appeal? It comes back to the board? Is that the idea?
So the policy will set up that process. And so, yeah, at the very, I think if I remember right, they appeal to me, and then if I say no, then they can come to you, to the board, to appeal. Kind of like the transport waivers.
Okay.
All right, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I will make a motion to adopt. Yeah, we're on J. To adopt resolution 558 and policy 130 as presented.
All right, all in favor of that motion? Aye. All right, resolution in support of purchase agreement.
As part of the purchase agreement, we had told the owners that there was the potential for eminent domain, because that was an option that we would have looked at if we didn't come up with agreement. We did come up with agreement, but we want to show that because that's part of how we're going to move through the agreement is through the threat of eminent domain, which changes the taxing and other structures of the agreement. So you have to adopt a resolution to saying you would have used you might have used eminent domain if you needed.
If there's some issues that come up, we could still use that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this won't change that.
All right. Well, I'll move that we adopt resolution 557 as presented here.
All right, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Motion passed. Historic insurance recovery contract.
Yeah, so part of as we purchase property, if there's any contamination or anything on it, they can go back and look at insurance policies. This is a contingency-based contract, and so if we need them, we can use them. If we do need them and they find something, they only take 1% of what they find funding-wise. And you would just be approving me to sign the contract as presented to you if and when we need it.
So we would see the contract at a later meeting. Actual.
No, then if you have the contract in front of you, so if you authorize it, I would sign it whenever it is appropriate.
Oh, gotcha.
Even if it hadn't gone to the other meeting, so that we can do it at the needed time.
There's no expiration date on that?
No,
Okay, or no time limit attached
to me or the contract. No.
No, for the contract.
No, so if we started, they do their research, and so if they don't find it, once they're done, if they don't find anything, we don't pay them anything. If they find something and we need it, whatever we use of that, they get their 10%.
Is this just for what we're working on now, or is it? could be
Correct,
used later, or
this would
something?
only be for the Pine Avenue property if we need it. If we, I don't know how we would, but if we needed something similar at one of our other properties, we'd have to amend the contract or do a new.
Well, I'll move that we adopt this, what is it, a purchase agreement or
Service contract.
service contract? With, historic, is that it? No, historic research?
Yep.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
All right, chief's reports.
I'll start off. You guys got any questions? What information was provided? We had a handful of fires from the last commissioner meeting noted in there. I wanted to, I think we already touched on it earlier about the members participated in the rope class. We had 11 complete that. I wanted to point out for our members that are interested in being on the county tech team, in order to be full-fledged members, they have to get some other disciplines, confined space, trench rescue, are the other two classes that they are mandatory to be on the county team. We are exploring some different opportunities for us to host similar as we did for the rope class to try to get more members through. It's much easier for us to facilitate logistically wise to host it if possible. With that, we are looking at opportunities to add some props down there that would support that kind of training. So we've already been up, Chief Heike took a field trip up to Cuz Concrete, and we're kind of pricing out and looking at options for putting in a confined space type prop on the ROV training site. So that's something we're working on. We don't have any cost estimates as of yet. There is some material up there they'd be willing to donate to us if it works, but if we had to have something specifically made to fit, then there would be some cost associated with that. Neil Bromley is working, MSO Bromley is working on hosting a conference in September, bringing in some pretty good speakers for some of the medics to get their CE. I'd like to thank Aaron is here tonight, Aaron and Jason Leedy, I believe Fletcher Collins. Who am I missing, Aaron? Jose and Anthony spent the last week and a half up at Glacier Peak teaching CPR and first aid. So I've got quite a few students through, so continuing that. And just a reminder, part of the agreement we have with our school district is we're providing CPR at Snohomish High School and Glacier Peak. In return for that service, we get use of the pack, and we also, our swim team gets free use of the pool. So it's kind of a mutual beneficial agreement that we got, that it doesn't cost the district to send our swim team down there to train. Since the last meeting, this kind of came up quickly, so this is a late add to the ops report. On May 31st, the county opened a grant opportunity for departments in the county to request funding for site improvements to the training sites. And it closed today. So last couple of weeks, I've been working with Mrs. Heike and Chief Waller, like all of us, scrambling to put together a grant application. So we did submit yesterday. So we will know sometime in July. They didn't give an exact date, but Snohomish County Council is going to look at all the applications. We believe there's 8 other applicants, and we have no idea how much ARPA money they have to hand out, but we're hoping that we'll be able to get some funding to replace our room structure, which we've been talking about for 4 or 5 years. Staffing wise, we had a couple more part-timers officially move on to full-time careers. Stephen Osborne left for South Woodby, and Nick Garza and David Garcia left for North County Regional. And the last thing I'll say on the staffing is that we're interviewing next week part-time candidates And if all goes well, if we have qualified candidates and the World War panel recommends them, we could take up to 4 of those for the next academy. So, any questions?
Okay. Any questions about anything that was written from safety and sport? Okay, a couple quick things to add.
I want to follow up from, in the minutes, it mentioned that you were working on something with the chaplains. Are you going to
Yes.
report on that?
I have a couple of things to talk about the chaplain, but that report, specifically, no, not at this time. But it will be forthcoming.
So he's got most of the information. He's got to tidy up his thing, and then we're going to schedule a meeting with you first.
Okay, so specifically with the chaplains, last week we had a tough call at Fire District 4 for our firefighters and our law enforcement. And the call ended up requiring 2 chaplains. They were both needed because of the makeup of the call and everything that went on for the people involved in the call as well as the responders. I'm happy to say that our first chaplain went to the scene, recognized that, was able to call another chaplain, and they were able to go to the scene and work together with a couple of different groups and mitigate that situation to the best of their abilities. And having to be able to respond to that call was huge. That goes to Chaplain Jeff and the crew that we have assembled as part of our chaplain group. So that was fantastic. Thank you and thank them. And that's ongoing, correct? Okay, thank you for that. Real quick, Pub Ed event. I want to thank BC Heike, Christine Heike, and Chaplain Jeff once again. We were at an elementary school last week for the Pub Ed event. They requested a couple of things. Help with fitting bicycle helmets. They were able to do that. Chaplain Jeff was able to grab our Support 43 rig and go in a support officer role to assist them. And then, was it Chelsea that went with our, they had requested specifically a Spanish speaker as well. And we have some of those now in the department, which is awesome, that are bilingual. And Chelsea Ruggiero Deal, one of our newer firefighter paramedics who is fluent in Spanish, was able to go and assist with that event, which was really neat. And finally, we had our second annual Battle of the Badges food drive for the Snohomish Community Food Bank. Snohomish Fire District 4 versus Snohomish Police Department. Chief Waller is once again the winning chief, like he will be every year. But we doubled the weight in food that the police department had, that we were able to take over and get weight at the food bank. So bragging rights to Chief Waller again. And together, both groups were able to raise over $1,500 in cash and turn that over. And the food bank administrator, Elizabeth, said she can stretch those dollars to make it a lot more than $1,500. That being said, I want to publicly thank Hagen's Grocery Store, who let us have the front of their store for the food drive, and the Fred Meyer's Grocery Store, who helped us stuff my truck full of food before the food bank, or the food event started, so we could already go and have at least double the weight of law enforcement. But congratulations, Chief. We had a great turnout. It was a heck of a lot of fun, and it was for a great cause for the food bank that this community donated for us and made us look good.
Can I add to that?
Okay, go ahead.
One of our members went to Fred Meyer as well and purchased diapers because that was a high priority need.
Yes.
And then asked Fred Meyer how they could help. They matched. So we ended up with 16 cases of diapers that were donated. So it's community support.
It was huge.
Amazing.
Absolutely, thank you.
I don't want to give the cops our secrets.
So don't write it down.
Well, it's recorded now.
And with that, we've got a whole bunch of events coming up between now and the end of the year, all summer long. And we look forward to being involved in all of them with our members, just representing the fire district and being out in our community. Thank you.
So I think it was, over 1,000 pounds of food and over $1,500.
Thank you.
Chris put a bunch of work into a grant an opportunity that came up with the State Auditor's Office for a records request software program, all kinds of things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that qualifies for that. So we'll see how we do. She did a great job and put that work in. We've had an increase, a number of requests for records. And then there's quite a bit that goes into that to make sure that we comply. We don't look like, well, we don't let people down as far as our obligation to provide those records and meet requests, respond to requests and that type of thing. So it's getting to be a bigger and bigger job. And that might help us if we get that before we have to come to you and ask for a budget, some kind of a budget funding for a program or something like that. So I wanted to thank her for that. And then Sam has put hundreds and hundreds of hours into Springbrook. And we're going to start to see the benefits of that now. You're starting to see some of the reporting. This is where we've spent all this time developing and building and putting good information into and setting it up. We're just now doing some fine tuning, as I think the chief mentioned, and then I'm going to spend a bunch of time really getting into how do we get the great data that we're putting in, how do we get it out in the various forms that we want to see it. But I just wanted to thank Sam for all of her dedication and time that she has spent doing that work. That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions on my written report? I'll highlight a few things. Yeah, we sent our first, the Bolt Creek was a beta test. We're not going to count that. So we sent our first mobilization out in a couple decades, I should say. And it's Brush 42's at Benton County right now with a crew of 3 on it. So that's a good step forward for us. We keep moving steps forward, and that's the next one we've moved the ball on, which I appreciate. We have the Dodge, like I said in my report, but it's at the repair shop because there's a transmission leak. So it'll be there about 3 weeks until they can get the part and fix it. So that's a little update. As I said, as you've just taken action on 3 items, we're still moving ahead with the property. The things I want to touch on are the architects are getting far enough in the design process that we'll start to schedule meetings probably just individually with you, the committee, so you can ask the committee question, the committee can explain to you, but we don't have to do full open public meetings. And then just touch on that we're new proud owners of a new lot that no one knew we owned for the last 50 years. So everybody, the food bank, the city, the fire district, Chief Simmons, everybody that I've talked to thought that the state DOT owned the last lot off of Ferguson Park Road, or at Ferguson Park Road down Oak here. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, the city's like, we want to buy this. It doesn't make sense to have that. So they called the state and asked to buy it. And the state says, we don't own it. And the city said, we don't. We thought, who does own it? And so the state looked into it, called them back the next day and said, you do. Then a week after that, we got a title report back. And in the title report, we found not only when the city owned it, but that through the ILAs that did the whole 50% here, we own 50% of it. So that's it. In 2 week span, the city went from not owning it to owning it to only owning 50% of it. So we now own that. That's been one of the fun things that has been happening with all this stuff. Exactly. Other than that, the coffee with Chief, the virtuals are scheduled. We have another coffee with the Chief. I forget what that's in the beginning of
June 22nd.
and then what's the other one? July 12th. That's the one that's not in my report. We have one at the Lighthouse. Vegas. No, what's the other one? Looking Glass. That's what I got. Looking Glass on the 12th. So we're getting those. I've done about 4 community presentations, and I have about 8 more, plus the 2 coffees with the chiefs and the virtual. Everything's been very positive about the levy that left. So I won't say I'm feeling comfortable, but I'm not feeling anxious yet. So, anything else for me? Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your guys' hard work.
And you can see who keeps track of me.
Yeah. All right, commissioner comments.
I think the 2 of you and me got the email from the Washington Fire Commissioner Association about partaking in a survey on benefits, wages and benefits. Did you get that? Or did I just get that? I hope it's not just me.
I think they sent it out to all the contacts. Jason,
Yeah, I think-
Jason,
I
I
think
believe,
he did.
did it for us.
That's what I was wondering if we, I know our name hadn't shown up that we did anything. I was wondering if that's something we should, first of all, do we have the manpower and the time to do that? That would be the first question. And I'm not sure if we did it in the past or how often we did it in the past.
We've been getting them for a while, yeah. It's been hard for us to find the time.
I can tell you, I started it, and it's pretty long. I thought, oh, it's only 2 pages. I got through 2 pages, had something else come up, I closed it, and then came back to say, you cannot close it, it doesn't save anything. So then I said, nope, I'm not opening it back up. So,
Okay. Well, I just wanted to bring that up.
We'll try to get to it in the next week or two.
Yeah, and then I wanted to publicly thank Local 2694 for their letter to the editor in support of the lid lift. I don't know who's all here from the, anyway, but I just thought that was a nice letter, and thank you for that support of the levy. So, yeah. That's all I have.
And we will adjourn the meeting at 21:31.
it was Chris Jarvis that wrote